The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Welcome to Aftergate, powered by the Defy Life Network. Aftergate is a podcast series highlighting Colgate alumni of color in their professional endeavors aftergate. Aftergate is hosted by Alvin Glimpf, aka Al, and Herman Dubois, aka Jerry. We are doing Aftergate because Colgate University has produced innovators who have changed the world every day. Yet many alumni of color and the mainstream Colgate community are unaware of the amazing accomplishments of alums of color.
Hello. Welcome. This is your boy Al, and this is Aftergate. It is my honor to be here. I'm excited to be in the midst of this journey we are calling Aftergate, and looking forward to another amazing conversation tonight. This happens to be a conversation with a brother that we were on the campus with for a few years. So we shared the space of Colgate. And so I'm curious to hear his story because I'm pretty certain I have never heard his story before. And also looking to hear his perspective while we were on campus and then learn a lot more about what he did after we left. But before we get there, my co-host, my partner, my man indeed, Hedaman Dubois. How you doing, homie?
What's up, my brother? Brother Glenn, all as well. Just getting off a wall, so literally like minutes in off the streets and on the podcast. So I'm excited. When I saw who we had coming up, I said, oh, I cannot be late for this, brother. So
Yes.
I was battling road rage getting home, but I made it.
Well, we're gonna have to send you to some type of classes on that road rage because is we are in a day and time that we can't be wilding out in the streets because people is a little cray nowadays. So
Yeah. I'm working on my treatment plan right now, so it's okay.
my
Yes, sir.
man.
Hmm.
But all is well in the A. For those who are in Atlanta right now, there's a lot of celebration because the Braves won the World Series.
They did.
Um,
They did.
actually,
Congrats to the Braves.
congrats to the Braves. I'm not a hater when it comes to sports. I definitely congratulate those teams, even though I'm not a Braves fan. I'm
Not at
definitely
all.
it is a interesting city, Atlanta, when our teams are doing well, when they're championships doesn't happen often, but the spirit or energy of the city
Well,
is kind of cool.
most cities, all of a sudden tend to use the celebratory moment of a sports franchise to kind of take a pause on all the other issues that are real issues in life because they just
Correct.
get so consumed with the athletics. But it's I got an issue with the whole just Braves. Whatever happened to MLB checking
Yeah,
teams and mascots, and then you got the
dude.
chop. I was just like not feeling it. I was ready to throw a rock at the TV if I didn't have such an expensive damn
I'm
flag. But
saying that comes from the years that you actually lived in Atlanta and we was going to those playoff games and I
as
was
Yankee fans,
as Yankee fans, giving those folks who was doing the chop then a lot of the business because we
yeah.
didn't appreciate it way back then and we let them know. I'm surprised we didn't get any types of fisticuffs or getting kicked out because we was definitely the
Antagonizes.
antagonistic Northerners.
Although,
Get,
why they hate the Yankee fan? Why
that's
they hate
exactly why
Northern?
they hate the Yankees, and we were beating them too. That was the other
Whooping
thing.
their ass.
Right,
Okay.
right. So shout out to all my Yankee fans who live somewhere else but represent when they get to a stadium. But that's what it is. So nice reminisce because we had some good times going to them
Oh yeah.
games, my brother.
Oh yeah.
Good
It was a
times.
good time. It was a good time to be in the ATL.
Really, real, true indeed, true indeed. But that being said, I think it's time to invite our guests into the room and officially welcome Mr. Although I was a grown man when I really appreciated that your first name was Leslie and I have been calling you Orlando all these years.
Word.
Mr. Leslie Orlando Perry. Welcome to Aftergate,
Yeah,
my brother.
thank you for having me. I am so excited. I can't hold it in. I was telling my wife, I was telling, don't interrupt because I'm on a podcast.
I'm gonna be busy for a little while.
I'm gonna be busy for a minute. So
Right,
don't
right, right.
interrupt. And they probably did not care that I was doing anything with
They were like,
Colgate.
so what?
They're like, and especially my
Right.
16-year-old daughter, she's like, okay.
Yeah, right. If I need you, I'm
She's
coming in
like,
there.
Right.
exactly. Dinner's ready, right? Yeah, that's all she wanted to know.
She gonna be like, give me back my headsets.
Exactly. Are
He's
those
like,
mine? Are
Right,
those
right.
mine, Dad? No, no, they're not yours.
right, right,
Well,
right. That's what's up.
anything that's in the house is mine anyway because I bought it.
Right,
Tell
right,
them. Old
right,
school, old
right. I
school.
own the air you breathe, woman. Take little
That's
breaths. All
a,
right, say
is that
that.
right, 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 right,
Right.
right. No doubt. But it's a pleasure to be with your two brothers, man. It's just I'm just as I said, I'm excited and I'm eager to be here.
Well, that's what's up. So let's jump on in there, right?
Yeah, man.
So okay, I coming into the show. How far? Where do I remember Orlando from first? Like, kind of, what's my first memory of Orlando, right?
Oh my goodness.
So my things that come to my mind is I'm a freshman,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember you. My first real memory of Orlando, and this is crazy, is J term.
Mm,
My
okay.
freshman year, you
Oh my
took this
goodness.
class with me, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, with Josiah
Yes.
Young. Here's the funny
Yes.
part about it. Here's the funny part about it. This is when I learned this idea. I can't, is it the idea that you just fall asleep? Like, because
Yes.
right, right. I can't remember the name of what that is called. So please,
Narcolepsy.
narcolepsy. You are the one who, it is because of you that I learned and was introduced to this idea, this thing. And I'm like, hold on, what dude is sleep in the back? Yeah, yeah, he does that. He does that. He does that. He has narcolepsy. I'm
It's
like,
okay. He got a
what the hell is
pass.
narcolepsy? Like, yo, he would just be like, I'm like, yo, dude is teaching. How come he can sleep, but I can't sleep? Yeah, yeah, he got a
Right.
pass. That's my memory of you, January J term,
Wow.
Oh, I'm so
taking that
embarrassed.
that's all good, taking that class. But more importantly, that was that. Here's the serious thing I remember about you in terms of that class. So coming into Colgate, I had a familiarity connection with Jamal, very good friend of yours, then
Mm-hmm.
and now. And because he had went to boarding school with the guy I went to Rosedale with. So coming into
Right.
Colgate, I was kind of connected with him. And I knew his friends through him. So I knew Alvin, I knew you, I knew
Right.
Brian. But that class was an opportunity for me to actually get to know you a little more my freshman year and hearing some of your uh perspective, your approach to these issues, because it's a Martin Luther King, Malcolm X class, and I'm listening to this brother like, yo, he might not, he might only be awake 60% of the class, but you would think he heard the entire, like you didn't miss a beat. Like dude would ask a question, you would respond and intelligently and coming with some heat, and I'm like, yo, I need some of that narcolepsy thing. Whatever he got, give me some of that, cause
It's working.
it works.
Ah,
It works. So
it,
that's
it,
my memory of you, my brother. But it was a good introduction to who you are as a man, as a student. That's kind of where I take it back to brother O.
that's hilarious. What about you, Jerry? That's kind of funny.
I don't think I recall a classroom experience with you. I think it may have just been more of you fell into the collective of brothers that I've always acknowledged as being the big brothers that took
Mhm.
me under their wing when I was coming into Colgate. with a chip on my shoulder, thinking that I was some special, realizing that shit, everybody was special at Colgate because we all came out of situations where we was groomed out of high school to be big fish in the little ponds, and then you get to Colgate and realize, your name is Nemo. And so, you, Brian Wise, Jamal Young, Alvin
Mm.
Green, David Crittenden,
Dave Crittenden.
uh,
Critter.
were all brothers that just naturally I looked at and said, okay, well, they're juniors now. I'm a freshman. They survived 2 years here, so it is doable. And two, it was beyond just the fact that you had survived, but y'all in your own ways all gave me some insight, whether it was academics with a professor, whether it was socially,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was
Mm-hmm.
athletically, culturally. I attribute all of you to being part of me learning and seeking sort of my identity.
Mm-hmm.
What Colgate was a huge transformation for me when I look back now about who I thought I was, and who I became. Colgate was a portal into that pivot, and it wouldn't have happened if it had not been for brothers like yourself and some of the other cats I mentioned, because it wasn't one incident, it wasn't one engagement, it was just a series of overlap of interaction that it was very empowering, because again, I kept saying, like, there wasn't a semester I was at Colgate that I didn't question what the hell am I doing up here, and the idea of transferring, or the idea of, is this what my collegiate experience is going to be like, and the fact that I continue to see brothers like yourselves who were making the most of it, and who were in many ways examples of, like, make Colgate what you need Colgate to be.
Mm-hmm.
um one of the things that I always remember about you personality wise was, um, you always seem to have this spirit about you, like this easy flow, this like sort of like, doesn't mean you didn't have hard times, but you always depicted this sense of like you were just rolling with it, and you had a good nature about yourself, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not everybody carries. And when you think about, I've got this term that I've been using in every podcast, post what is it, post Colgate,
Post-traumatic Colgate
post
syndrome, or
yeah, post Colgate traumatic, yeah. And that, you rolled with just the punches, and you did it all. You did the sports thing, you did the student organization thing, obviously did the academic thing. And I just remember never really seeing in a place where he was flustered, or he was
Mm.
not happy. It was always that good natured spirit. I was like, yo, he doing something. He doing something. He holding back on the goods, because this
Uh-huh.
brother is always upbeat and positive. So, but
Always.
now with mama, now with a few rodeos under my belt, and life experience, it's actually a tribute to your nature, your character, your integrity of who you are, that you just have that spirit about you. So I thank you for that.
I appreciate that. And it's funny how I sometimes like to hear how people perceive me.
Hmm.
Um, and I say this because at that time, to tell the truth, I was always trying to please others. I
Mm,
realize that now. I'm going doing some psychology, some therapy, right? Um,
word.
I was having a good time. I was having a good time. I was enjoying it, maybe too much, and I will say that too much. But I was always in a place where I did not want to disappoint others,
Mm,
Mm.
and I tried to do it in a way where it it pleases others that surround me. That I didn't want to disappoint. I was a big person that I didn't want to disappoint others that I'm connected to, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And now that's even me as a junior. I'm still trying to, I sort of like figured out how to get off academic probation. I
Mm.
figured out how to do well in some classes. I figured out what I want to do as a major. I figured out I know can I can be successful in this environment. And that's the key part. In that when I came in, I realized I was really naive. I mean, I was naive a lot of things in life, and I didn't have anything to be mad about. Even though I came from the Bronx, even though I came from the South Bronx, sort of one of the toughest projects in the Bronx,
what projects?
and
What projects? Which projects?
Bronx River.
Okay,
he-
I was Monroe Projects right up the ways.
okay. Yes, yes,
I
yes.
got chased out of Bronx River quite a few times.
Shut up.
He might have been chasing you.
Right. Shit.
You know,
That's what's up.
yo, I was just happy, believe it or not, to be there
Hmm.
and be in an
Mm.
environment. And I got to tell the truth, I was happy to be there because I didn't have to deal with certain issues that I had to deal with when I was in the Bronx.
Where'd you go to high school?
That's I went to James Monroe.
Yeah.
Okay.
James Monroe High.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and that it was funny. It's a lot of people from James Monroe went to Colgate. I followed in a row. What's his sister? She just passed, Aretha. Oh, I love
Yeah,
Aretha.
yeah.
Aretha Jones, but she, you know, she got married, but she was one of the people that came before me.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of the people that came from the same high school and I came from and became successful
Mm.
in Colgate. So that type of thing was very important to me. To see that, to see where I took the same teachers that she
Mhm.
took,
Mm.
and I have ability to be at Colgate. And I learned and then when I was at in high school, they was like, oh yeah, you're special, you're talented, you're gifted, whatever. When I got to Colgate, I was just one of a million or one of
Right.
3,000. You know,
Right.
I was one of a lot of smart people, and I was not the
You was
smartest one in the
Nemo.
room. Exactly. I was leaning. I learned that in a minute. I
Yeah.
learned that in a minute. You know, my freshman year, I learned that, and trying to work through that and being in the moment. You know, the terms I'm using now, I did not use those terms then.
Of course,
Yeah,
of course.
you know, being in the moment, that's like a, you know, a new wave type thing. But enjoying myself and enjoying where I'm at,
Being present.
where I don't have to, not to be worried about walking where I need to walk to. I can
Mm.
walk anywhere around campus
Mm.
and not worry about nothing.
Paint that picture. Like, so you're in the midst of it. You are coming into Colgate 1985, middle of the 80s, right? And coming out of the Bronx, right? So for those who
Right.
aren't aware what life was like in 1985 in high school, give us a sense of what life is like for you before you get to Colgate. Give us a sense of what the
So,
world is like from what you remember before you get to Colgate.
And also because I
so
know Monroe, incorporate Monroe High School because Monroe High School and where it's at and what it's about is relevant to that response.
so let me tell you, I had great teachers there. And I had
Mm.
people to this day. I could talk about him, Tom Porton. He was the senior advisor at Monroe. And I didn't realize it at the time. I thought, you know, how people are old. You know, he might have been 30. You know, I didn't know, but because
Right,
he's
right,
still
right.
around. He just retired a few years ago. He
Mm.
made my high school experience enjoyable. He made my
Mm.
high school experience where I can be what I wanted to be if I
Mhm.
tried. Um, the projects I lived in, it was a panacea. I call it a bubble because it's funny because if I walked outside at night, I would watch my back, but I didn't feel like anybody was going to do anything to me personally. But I know that you hear gunshots, you know, this is prior and understand this is at the crux of the crack era.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I left really before it started in New York City heavy.
Correct.
It
Correct.
it wasn't it didn't start in well, the part of the Bronx I was
85,
in.
86,
Crack,
87.
I,
crack is whack.
exactly.
Right.
Crack is whack.
Right.
Right. I wasn't there for when crack is whack. I came
Right.
back to it, you
Right.
know.
Right.
You know, when I was visiting as you know, my brother and sister, you say I was visiting home when I came back.
Right.
But I didn't see that part. I saw where I was go outside. I could play handball. I could play football. I could play basketball.
Mm.
Well, I didn't play basketball because at the time, quote unquote thugs played basketball. You
Mm.
know, and
Mm.
I wasn't my crew. We wasn't the thug crew. Okay, we he was like we'll play baseball over on the other park. Okay, we'll play football somewhere else. That was my crew. But They had pools, they had parks, and in my, they had a community center, and we had families that lived in the projects. One of my best friends, I had two best friends that both Latino, Puerto Ricanos, and one Puerto Ricano. My female friend, her parents kept me when I was younger. So I learned Spanish, and I could understand it because when she said something, like, "Cállate," or I was like, okay, I shut up, But that's the environment I lived in. We had neighbors, we had families. That's the projects I grew up in. Yes, if people say there's a lot of quote unquote dysfunction, I'm not denying that, but in the environment that I grew up in, I felt that I was protected, and that wasn't to say that there wasn't bullies.
Right.
There were, but if you around your crew, the people that you comfortable with, you go to the families. I could go to 3 different places. I could go to 16. I lived in 1575, East 174th Street, until I was 25 years old. But I could go to 1609. People knew me there. I could go to 1509. Or I forgot the number of the other building that I used to go to all the time, where friends lived in. It was a community. We all knew each other. Translating that in the environment I had at Monroe was funny. People said Monroe was a crazy school. I didn't see none of the craziness. I really didn't. I didn't see fights.
You was with the smart kids, the quote unquote smart kids.
Even when I hung out, because I was on a lot of committees. I was on I did drama ministry, not ministry. I did drama crew club or whatever. I was in the musicals they had. I was part of the senior crew leadership. So I hung out with everybody. And the dysfunction that they said that was there, personally, I didn't see it. That's why I think I lived in a bubble, because maybe I was focused on the positive things that was there. But I took all of that to Colgate with me. And I had mother, father that I grew up with, fortunately. I had 5 sisters and brothers, aunts, uncles all around us, where I could go to Manhattan to visit, Queens to visit my uncles and aunts. So I took all of that with me to Colgate. And when I went to Colgate, I gotta tell you this one story. And this is the reason why I picked Colgate.
Okay.
So we had like I told you, there was a line. 1 or 2 of us will always get into Colgate from Monroe. So we always get a recruiter to come down to give us a spiel. So it was only 3 of us in the room when the recruiter came down, because they always got select a couple of us to go in the room. So I was one of the 3, I think, of us in there. And he said, I want you to come up and visit, apply. I see your grades, just apply, right? I said, what about my SATs? He said, just apply. So I did what he said. I applied, I got in, right? So this is sub-frosh weekend. And my parents are
infamous sub-frosh weekend.
Everybody talks about that weekend.
Everybody. Now, it's what happened before the weekend started that got me. I never really traveled by myself. In the city, yes, but outside the city, no. I had no reason to do that. I was always with brother, cousin, mom, dad, whatever. So they're like, we'll pay for you to come up there. They're like, here's the money for the ticket. So they pay for me, bus ticket, took the Greyhound, right? You have to go through Binghamton, then take another bus to get to Utica, right? So got on the bus, excited, got my little bag, got to the bus stop in Binghamton. I said, okay, what is the next bus to Hamilton, New York? Here's my ticket, right? At that time, there was no phones and all of that. Here's my ticket.
Right.
They're like, this bus is going to leave in an hour, and this is the number to the bus. So I'm waiting. Me, Mr. Naive, not asking. Actually, it was a different bus that had to go to Utica first. The person didn't tell me that there was a bus that I needed to be on to go to Utica. That bus from Utica would take me to Colgate. So the time comes around, I'm like, wait a minute, where my bus go for this? And the bus driver tells you this is the wrong bus. So I am 17, kind of freaking out. Like
in Binghamton.
In Binghamton, right.
In Binghamton, New York.
Right.
how no cell phone? How am I getting from here to Hamilton, New York? I was like, let me call Colgate. I called Colgate. I told this is when they answered the phone. There was no
Automated
they answered
answer.
it. No, right. No automated answering.
Right.
Answered the phone, and one of the people there were like, you're supposed to be here for a subflight. I said, yes. I am stranded in Binghamton. The next bus is not going to leave to the next day or whatever. They're like, we got you. Now, of course, they didn't say that. They said,
Yeah.
sir, we will make sure you get there in time. So what they did, they paid for me to take a cab
Oh,
from Binghamton to Colgate. It's funny because the cab guy he was like, at that time I had to put him on the phone to talk to the Colgate.
Right,
to
right. He like,
believe. Wait a minute.
he
Wait,
like,
wait,
yo,
wait.
this
What?
this
Right,
this this black dude gonna run when he get there. So I need somebody to
Right.
tell
right,
me
right.
I'm gonna get my money.
Exactly.
Who's paying me?
Right. So he was on the phone for at least 5 minutes. I'm like, what is going on over there? Well, he said, I'm gonna get you to Hamilton, New York. And he told me the simplest way to get there. So we got there and they paid him. And what the guy told me is like, I don't know anybody else that would do this for somebody that was stranded.
Right.
And that stuck with me because this is a white dude just talking to me. And I got to Self Rush, had a ball. I stayed with Darian McFadden, met all of them, right? Had a ball. And when I got back home, my mom, they all like, how was it? I said, it was great. And they said, are you going here? Because I had gotten to a couple other schools.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm going there. And they're like, why? It's in the middle of nowhere, da da da. And I'm like, because he took care of me. And they didn't understand what I was talking about. So I explained them the whole story, and they were like, wow.
Wow.
Just because of that, I went to
Mhm.
Colgate.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
what's
my
up.
mom was so happy. Yeah.
That's a dope story. I'm curious when you said you had some other scenario options. Where might you have gone if you hadn't ended up at Colgate?
Cornell. I got into NYU. I got into Binghamton, I think also. It was mostly New York schools. Why? Because if I stayed in New York, I was going to get New York money.
Yep. What
If I went outside,
region scholarship, all that.
all of that. That's when it be right. Pell, Regent Scholarship, all of that money.
Mm-hmm.
I would have received it because I was a New York State student.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason I probably could apply to out of state, but I didn't
That's
want
a
to.
dope. That's a dope story. That's
Amazing
a dope
story. That subproj weekend, that experience for many, it seals a deal and
It's
gets
a
a lot
hook.
of us to
Wait,
attend
what'd you say?
that place
What'd
in
you
the middle
say?
of nowhere. It's
What'd
the
you say?
hook.
Oh, it's the hook.
I said
It's the setup.
it's the
It's the,
hook.
well, let's just say it's a
Yeah.
trap. You know it. It's the damn
So
trap.
so
But it works though.
it's
It
the
works.
I
No,
say
no
it's the
shit.
most effective recruiting tool that Colgate University has ever created for students of color.
So it's so true.
But
It's
they
so true.
acknowledge that the intention of that weekend is you've been accepted. The question is, have you selected Colgate? And
Right.
so
Exactly.
it's intended to bring out the bells and whistles to court you and cater to you and make you feel like we want you here. So I
Right.
would love it'd be awesome. I don't know if this is ever possible to get some kind of data that shows all the people, particularly students of color, that go to OUS weekend or Subfrosh weekend and don't end up at Colgate. Where do they end up and why? Because everyone that we've interviewed, everyone from different decades, as long as OUS was in effect, talks
Suffrage.
about that
Suffrage.
weekend, how it was the weekend that made them commit to going to Colgate. So what happened to the students of color who went to Colgate for Subfrosh and didn't go?
Where'd
Just
they go?
putting out there.
Yeah,
Where'd they go?
I would-
Do they
I
look
would
back
like-
and be like, damn, shit, I went to Colgate?
And you know what it showed me that not only they took care of you, but there was a community up there that I wasn't by myself.
Mhm.
Especially
And-
that weekend.
and especially that
I mean-
weekend because I was with Darren.
Right.
Well, they
Right.
were hanging out. They were doing their own thing, but and I met a whole bunch of people that weekend. So it was just like, wow, they have a community of people that
Well-
look like me and and talk
Right.
like me.
If you think about it, so many of us have come through Subprise Weekend, and we really are the salespeople when we become students. Real, because the people that I talked to in HRC that weekend, they was honest,
This is
really
what you're
different
coming
from New
into.
York City. But they gave me the real, but they also showed me the opportunity and the benefits of that community. We're gonna get through. Like, this is how we do it. We study together, we party together, we eat together, and we
It's
are
true.
going to give you this support.
Mhm.
Take us back to when you are freshman, sophomore. What's life like on campus at that time? What do you remember about the experience?
And where'd you stay? Where did you
I,
reside throughout
I,
those
wa-
years?
I was in East Hall,
Oh,
Okay.
um, and
that's
I
different.
was blessed. I was blessed to be on the same floor as Michelle Garcia and
Oh,
Jasmine Stewart.
yeah.
God bless Jasmine Stewart. She didn't pass, but I was blessed to have them two on the same floor as me. And Michelle Garcia, talking about angel,
Mm,
she was my angel. You know,
mm.
so I had a white roommate, and that was cool. Jimbo, that's what everybody called him. And in that corner, I had this one. I realized I need to get my smart hat on because these cats are are brilliant. Maybe not so much my roommate. I knew where he was coming from, but the two, that's no slight on him. But the two guys next to me, one of them majored in neuroscience, and the
Oh
other
wow.
guy majored in computer science or something like that. And what's funny about it, this how I realized there is I looked and said, there's a real distinction on where I come from and where others are coming from. Because these cats, and I realized that these cats can drink, do crazy stuff, and still get A's,
Right.
you know.
Like,
Later,
what's wrong with me? Whoa, hold
listen,
on.
am I in the same universe? Am I not working hard enough? And maybe I didn't work hard enough. I'm not going to say I did or didn't, but I just realized that during my first year, first 2 years. But I had angels, and what's funny is
Mm.
that my roommates, and I'll tell you a story how I got the name Orlando, where everybody used it. But
Mm.
the
So hold on, wait. Time
Okay,
out. Your family, like parents, siblings, call you Leslie?
okay, this is the story. I'll
Okay,
tell this
okay.
story first. And so, as you said, my name is Leslie Orlando Perry, right? My my father did not want a junior, so that's why Orlando. My father's name is Leslie Edward Perry. He didn't want a junior, so my mom said put Orlando in there. My sister, my older sister, named me Orlando after Orlando Cepeda. Okay, that's another
Uh.
story. She don't know. She just thought he was cute. She didn't know that he was a great baseball player. Nothing. So that's that's the truth. That's the whole truth.
Right.
So so what happens is that uh, again, this is the before the cell phone era, right?
Uh-huh.
So I made a deal with my parents. I said, look, I know I'm gonna be home Saturday morning, Sunday morning before brunch. Let's talk then, right? So I would call every Saturday morning, every Sunday morning. Sometimes my mom would be on the phone. Again, this is not cell phone. There's no clicking over, none of that,
Right.
right? So
No
it was
call
just
waiting.
busy.
No
Right.
call
No
waiting.
call wait. It's like, how Asian are you, Orlando? But anyway, I would just keep it moving, go to brunch, do my business. So my mom would call, and she called me Orlando.
Mm.
So she'll call and say, "Is there Orlando on the floor? Is there Orlando there?" And everybody was like, "Orlando, no," and kept it moving, right? Boop, you know. So when I call back, maybe like later on the week or next, they're like, "Where do you live? Because you don't live on a." I said, "That's the right number. I called you. It was on the phone." And she's like, "Okay." So this happened a few times, and one time I caught them. I heard the guy because the phone would be right in the hallway, and I was just
Uh-huh.
happened to be in the hallway, and the guy was like, "Is there Orlando?" He'll call out, and I happened to hear him. I said, "Oh, I'm Orlando," and he said, "I thought you was Leslie." I said, "My
You
family calls
lying.
me. I'm dead. I'm dead serious." I said, "My family calls me Orlando." They, and the thing about it is, my family called me Orlando. My father's side of the family would call me Junior, and my father hated that.
Right.
Mm.
I didn't
He
want
didn't,
a junior.
No.
exactly. And then they would say big lads, little lads, and he didn't like that at all. So he would call me Leslie. So the only two people in my family call me Leslie, my father and my uncle.
Okay.
Everybody else called me Orlando. And when people called, they were like, there's no Orlando. So I had to tell everybody, my name is Orlando. So that's that story. So, but and this the thing about it is that I don't have stories of how people were mean to me in terms of other students. I don't have those stories. I wish I could say I had those stories, but
Do you?
in the reality, I don't.
Do you really? Do you wish you had those stories?
Because it seems like it brings, for some people, it brings cred about going to a PWI and having stories about how people didn't like you or whatever. Now, in the back of their mind, in their own separate areas, they might have. I don't know this, but I know that the people I dealt with, for whatever, like the people in my area in East Hall, I love East Hall, that they were cool, they were crazy, and I say crazy white boys with affection, because they would ask me questions. Like I was taking this one class. You know how you have to take freshman
Seminar.
freshman what they call it?
Freshman seminar.
Freshman seminar, yes. So my freshman seminar was about drugs, like pharmaceutical drugs. It was drugs in general, but it specialized in all the different types of drugs. And I was learning, and at the time I was learning about the effects of heroin, all these different things, because I thought I wanted to be in the medical community at that time. So I took that. I said, this sounds interesting. So when we all talked about what we took, some people took history, some people took this, some people, and I told them what I took. And they said, what are you saying? So ever now and again, they'll say, what's in this drug? And I'll tell them that, to tell me the drug, and I'll tell them what was in the drug. And then, okay, cool. And this is the day before they had K2 and all of that stuff. K2 is a synthetic marijuana. So right. So and this is the time before they actually did really good research on marijuana, really good research on a lot of those drugs. So
documented research.
Documented research, exactly.
Exactly.
And these cats would do, and this when I realized we were different, because they would try some of the stuff that I was doing, like they would ask me about LSD, like surgic acid, and I said it was created in this year, and it's a artificial, and they're like, it's not artificial, it's not. I said, no, it's not, and we have arguments about it, but they would come to me, and I thought that was so funny, because they're coming to me for this advice, and I'm like, I'm too stupid to realize that I don't even know what I'm talking about, even though I read it in a book.
But you're from the Bronx, so you're supposed to know.
I'm right. I'm exactly.
Yes.
So, but that's the environment, and I gotta tell you, they thought I didn't like them for the first half of the year. They thought I didn't like them. They thought that they did something to piss me off, because I stayed most of my time at HRC. Why? Because Angel Kelly and Michelle Spikes lived in HRC. I think that's where they lived at.
Yeah.
My freshman year.
Right.
So I stayed a lot of time, or it wasn't HRC. It was right next to it. What's Cutton? Not Cutton.
Cutton is the one that's down further by the gym, but you have 4 buildings in Bryan Complex. HRC was not far.
Right. They didn't live in HRC itself. They lived right in one of the other complexes in HRC. Okay. But I was always down there hanging out with them. Then we would spread out, like Brian, me, Alvin. We was all spread up. But I always hung out down there. So one day my roommate, sort of guy, he comes to me. Did I do something? I was like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, you never hear it. Like, did we do something to offend you or anything? I said, no, dude, no. And he was like, oh, what's, because you're never here. And I said, I'm not here because over the summer I had the pleasure to meet people that I knew already, and I just hang out there. There's nothing against you. There's nothing against anybody else over here. That's why I hang out, because I made friends with them. And he was like, oh, thank goodness, because I thought I was telling the guys you did something to offend them, and but it was just that type of air that I was surrounded by. So that's my first thing. I don't want to get stuck on that, but that's and learning how hard college be, and I didn't realize what I didn't know about the rigors of academic life. And it took me 2 full years to really understand that. How to study, really how to study, how to read
Mhm.
for a class. It took me being in classes what Josiah, Professor Young took me in classes and being with the black academics up there for me to understand that I need to get my game in order.
Mm.
I, it wasn't like high school where and I'm realizing it now as 2020 hindsight, but I'm realizing that in high school I could just go to class and know what I
Pay
read,
attention, and that was it. Mhm.
and I just kept it moving,
Right.
you know. And I didn't realize that I really need to double down and study and remember that what I learned and how I could apply certain
Mm.
Yep.
ways. But
Yep.
I learned that in college you really had to understand, and that the class was funny because I took Josiah Young because I think that was the last year
That he was there.
he was there, and I
Correct.
wanted to make sure I took all the classes I could with him because I took
Mm-hmm.
philosophy
Mm-hmm.
101 with him and others, and him and others really took it took a issue if we did not apply ourselves like they knew
Oh,
we could apply ourselves.
No
he
freebies. No
was right. He
freebies.
was very serious, stern,
Oh,
scholarly.
yeah,
Like
yes.
and that was I had a tough first semester. So taking that January term with him, with y'all also, because it
Mm-hmm.
was, well, to y'all's credit, not only was he stern, but that was a good introduction on how to study, how to prepare, how to read, because
Right,
y'all
And
studied with me and modeled this behavior for me that I was
right.
able to benefit going into my second semester freshman year from interacting with y'all.
and what a lot of people don't realize, I don't even think they do J term anymore. That's an accelerated course, so it's a lot of information condensed. So you don't really got time to slip. Whereas in a regular
You
semester,
done.
you can slip and recover.
And
I was,
the other part about J term is it was some serious partying going on.
yeah.
So for those of
Love,
us who
yeah.
this is my first J term, I'm watching them. I needed their tutelage on how to study because 6 days out of the week, I'm getting my party on. And they're like, dude, this is why you was failing first semester.
Right, right,
You need
right,
to be
right.
studying, son.
Yes,
Real talk,
yes.
I was
So,
intimidated by J term partly because one, first semester was traumatizing. So I was like, I got to get back home. I got to get. I can't stay up here for January. What? I got to get back to the Bronx, get some rice and beans, chill with the family, disconnect.
understood.
And real talk. And then I got upset year later when I found out that Josiah Young was no longer going to be there because I had heard a lot of good things. But I was like, I'm gonna wait till I get a year or two under my belt to rock with him because I
Mhm.
heard they were like don't play in his class and I was like yeah I'm a pause
But I love J term. As you said, that's why I learned how to go skiing. I didn't even
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
barely how to spell skiing, but Colgate had a hill, you
right
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
and we would go do crazy things,
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
like you said, we would go to this class, be in this class, read, do what we had to
Uh-huh.
do. But as you said, we would get our you. It would be very interesting. We'll get our party on,
No doubt.
and because there was
Which-
nothing else to do.
It
Think
really
about it.
wasn't.
it was
I
coping
think
mechanisms that's what you got to look
it
at it as
was. Remember, that was a year where it snowed every day
Hello. Tell it.
from
Tell it.
January, from the day we
Tell
got
it.
there in January into
Hold on.
heavy into my birthday is February 4th.
I would come to Josiah Young's class walking from KED to wherever the class was. It was whatever that Haskell Hall, whatever that
Mhm.
philosophy and religion was
Oh,
that would
right,
sit in the
right, right,
middle.
right, right.
I would walk there. That short distance, the sweat would freeze by the time I would get to class. That's how cold it was. And I was like, this J term is serious. It's
It's
serious.
bogus.
It's, it's,
So,
it's yes.
tell me about let's go outside of classes while you're there. So any extracurricular activities? Um, did you work? What was life like for you on the extracurricular
Uh,
tip?
okay, and this is part of my problem too. And I say it's a problem because I was involved in everything, right?
Okay.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Simon, Okay, I was involved with I told you when I started that WRCU, I was on the radio station. I was a
I,
part of WeFunk. Okay,
I.
then I I was a part at the time it was called BSU, but it's AASA now, right? African
Our
American
class,
Student Association.
our class
Yeah.
changed the name.
Yes, you did. Thank you. But that's what we were called, and I was involved with CSA, Caribbean Students Association,
Uh-huh.
where I was vice president. Well, that's a funny story in itself. But anyway, I was involved in different organizations where I was like, okay, and I didn't see any problem, you know. And where I worked at, best job I ever had was and I tell you what the reason why I was a student trainer, as they
Ah,
call me the glorified water boy. But I tell you the only reason why they I did it was because I wanted to do something where I could learn
Mm,
something that because being a food service, okay, yeah, you learn and do, but I didn't feel I was learning anything. I even considered
mm,
being a paramedic up there, but
mm.
um, for what they call it, student aid, not student aid, when you get
Work
money,
study. Work study.
work study. I was on work study, so I was like, what's the highest paying work study job? And I
let's
learned that
let's
being
start
a
with that.
student trainer, right? Let's start with that. I learned that being a student trainer was, and I said,
Ah.
so I went to the entrance meeting, and I was, of course, only blackface there, and they're like, you get to be with the athletes, you get to learn how to take care of them, you get to learn real skills. I'm in. So that's what I did, and I loved it.
Mm,
And there's a problem when you're jack of all trades and master of none, you don't get to advance as you might have if you just focused on that one thing. You know, I
mm-hmm,
loved everything I did. I love WeFunk. I was never the best DJ. I loved WeFunk, but I was never the
mm-hmm,
best
mm-hmm.
DJ. I could not get down like my man Richard King,
Stanley.
Stan.
Stanley King.
He
Yeah,
could
And
Stand King
he
could get
was the
on the
DJ.
wheels of
He
steel.
was above you, right? He was a
he was
senior.
a senior when we were
He was a
freshmen.
Yeah,
right.
is that no? He was a junior. No, okay. He's
He's a year
88.
above you.
Yes, he's
Yeah,
88.
right.
I was 89.
Correct.
So he could get on wheels of steel and tear it up.
Yeah, no
And I
doubt.
realized because he practiced. He
Mm.
practiced extensively. It wasn't. It's
Hello.
not like he
He was
right,
born with it.
but right. He wasn't like he was born like DJ Flex and stuff like. No, he practiced. He worked hard at it, and I loved it. Like
Uh-huh.
Hugh and all. It's like, see, we had such a
Mm.
good group where Hugh, they taught us how to one advocate for what we want for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
because we funk existed because people that we need to hear our music,
Mm-hmm.
and in a social setting
Mm-hmm.
where we can enjoy ourselves like we do anywhere else, and I was comfortable there, but also love music. You know, I could pick out songs. That was never an issue. I love picking out songs. That's why I love doing the radio station. So social, I had all the social stuff down pat. See, that was my
Master
problem.
PhD by year
Social,
two.
socializing was not your
see,
issue.
that was not my issue. And I tell her, and I say it jokingly now, but I tell my kids, have dedicated time for your work.
Mm-hmm.
Please, you do yourself such a service. Because for the first 2 years, I did myself such a disservice
Mm-hmm.
and not focusing in terms of my academics as I could have. And when you're not, and the other thing about it, when you're not properly prepared, that's another strike against you where not only you're not preparing, but you're not properly prepared to be successful
Mhm.
in what you're trying to be successful at.
Mhm.
And what's funny about it is I just thought it was, maybe I'm not meant to be a biomedical engineer or whatever, you know. And I just realized that if I maybe have applied myself in a different way with maturity, and that's why I said I was immature then. In certain ways you're mature, certain ways you're immature. And that way I was immature. I might have guided a different opportunity my way.
Mm.
But I say it now with some retrospect, with some perspective with that. But did I enjoy myself? Yes, maybe a little bit too much, okay? Because I was involved with everything and everybody.
Right. I
But
think
I
it's
had a good time. I learned so much from it too. That's one thing. It's one thing where we could say there's issues at the university, but it's another thing where if you put your mind to it, and Michelle's like, I'm gonna get that house and it's gonna be La Residencia Hispanica. And we're gonna only have what we want to have in it. That's gonna be our house. Like HRC, that's gonna be HRC. We made it. We had the opportunity to get what we wanted because people sacrificed. They sacrificed their time, they sacrificed their energies to put, because I realized what Michelle had to go through a lot to get that house.
so what did she have to go through?
So I'm 2 years younger than Michelle. She was a junior when I was a freshman. And even through my freshman year, she said, I'm gonna get a house so we can have it. And we were like, oh, that's interesting. No, seriously, like, okay.
How you gonna do that?
Yes. We're like, house, okay, we're
Right.
behind you. But when it got serious, she had to go to deans. She had to deal with the
Administration.
deans that's in charge of resident administration, different people, professors. Like, it's not just gonna be a house where y'all get to hang out. That's not gonna be it. So she had to put the framework in and
Right.
develop the framework of how we could have a house. So she developed the framework. This is all in her mind. I remember that so distinctly because as young, she emboldened us to think that we could make a difference. That's how her confidence was in that realm where she's like, if we get enough big enough group to advocate for this, we can have it. So we went along with her. Like, I know that she met with a few people and she grinded out information to share so that it had to be a criteria of who could be in the house or whatever. She put that into place. That was her. Now she had another person working. What's her name? Oh, I can't believe I forgot her name. But there was a couple of other people that was working with her, but that was her.
That's a great story. I don't think a lot of people, I didn't know that story. I mean, by the time I was at Colgate, it was established, but it's a really interesting, like, archival story that needs to be told, because I wonder if the young people that are there now understand what it
The history.
took. Yeah, for sure.
It's funny how I think about those years and the most formative years, and you want to see how, and to give a lesson to my children,
Legacy.
To give a lesson to them and say, look, when you do this, when you go there, enjoy it. This is a place where I got to meet heads of state, where I got to meet singers, artists, people that I will see on TV. My first month that I was there, I got to meet Michael Manley. At the time, he was the current president of Jamaica. And I was like, okay, I just went to a lecture, right? Random. I was like, damn, it was at the chapel. And I said, what's going on at the chapel? So I just stick my little nosy head in. And I was like, I hear this person with a Jamaican accent, very well spoken, great speech. And he said he's the president of Jamaica. I said, the president of Jamaica's here? And little old Colgate?
Hamilton?
That's what we doing. That's what
He
we
must
doing
have,
now.
he must have been lost. He must have been going to Cornell or Syracuse and ended up at
Right.
Colgate.
Right.
How is the president of Jamaica?
Did that happen?
He was
But
probably
that
saying the
kept
same
happening.
thing. What the hell?
This ain't
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
Look, I could tell you a bunch of stories how when I tell you I was a guy that would drive people, that would pick people up, that would give lectures.
Yeah.
I
That was
loved
the
it.
best. That was the best job.
I loved it, picking people up because you go to dinner with them.
That was the best job.
I would tell stories how I used to go to dinner. I went to dinner with Betty Shabazz.
Yeah.
And you remember when Betty Shabazz was she there?
We do. I do remember when she did. I can
When she
remember. I
came-
can still remember her sitting in HRC,
Thank
dropping
you.
knowledge.
People don't believe me.
in the lounge.
They don't
sat
believe
there.
me. Yeah.
People don't believe it that I was in the lounge sitting with Betty Shabazz. People think, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
you just lying."
Uh-uh.
No, that's how
Uh-uh.
they sit as close as I am to whatever. They
Correct.
sat in your
Correct.
face
Correct.
Yeah.
and talk
Yeah.
to you and talk to
After the
she talked to
conversation,
After the lecture. Yeah.
after the speech,
Yeah.
after the
after the
speech.
speech, they would come back for a little intimate conversation. And
Exactly.
correct.
Mhm.
I,
Correct.
I love that intimacy. Even with do you remember when Maya Angelou came?
Yes,
Freshman
that's
year.
hey. I had the
Yeah.
opportunity. I had a camera. I was a photographer for the Prism or something, and I was a
Wow.
freshman. And so I get to
Wow.
go into the little intimate room. She spoke
The
at the
green
student
room,
union.
yes.
I get to go in there and I'm just taking pictures, but more importantly, I'm just soaking it all up because I really didn't even appreciate who she
Who
was at
she
the time.
was.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
I have a
Thank
photo that
I
recently posted with Angela Davis. I introduced Angela Davis at Colgate, and at the same thing to Al's point, I'm like, ah, yeah, she's an activist, she cool, you know what I'm saying? What? Legends,
Legends.
legends.
legends that we kicking it
Kwame
with.
Ture,
Yes, Stokely.
Oh yeah.
Stokely
Yeah,
Carmichael.
I remember that too.
We have photos
And
with
it's
Malana Karenga, the guy who created Kwanzaa.
yes, oh my,
Yes,
it's
yes.
crazy. And I think did that actually happen or am I imagining it?
I was gonna say I always think it's ironic that despite the fact that so many of us come up unprepared, despite the fact that there's such a lack of awareness, dedication, time management, all of the things that
Right,
we know as adults what it takes to
right.
really be successful. Despite all of that, so many of us got it done. And when I
Mm,
look at the amount
Mm,
of the percentage of students that I came into class with, students of color, and
mhm.
that percentage that graduated, like that retention rate is way above the national average for students of color at predominantly white institutions. I think it's still amazing that so many of us get it done. While as an institution, Colgate gets credit from our experience.
Mm,
Who should get the credit from what I give the credit to, attribute it to, is the community of color
mm,
getting us through
mhm,
that time. Because
mhm.
again,
yeah,
if it wasn't for the people like you and others upperclassmen teaching me what it took to be successful, I didn't come into the institution with that. My family wasn't reinforcing that when I went home to say, oh, you had a bad semester. Okay, this is where you need to do better. That
right.
happened for me and for many other students because other
Mhm.
students passed those skills down to us.
The village was
Yeah,
real.
the village was real. And when I say the village, it was OU West with Sarah, with
Hello, Sarah
Dean,
Ishmael.
Dean
oh
Rice.
my goodness, that Dean Rice. People understand how when you have representation,
Mhm.
that representation means something when it comes to real life matters. I remember a couple of times where even what's the other Dean? It was Dean Rice,
Dean Pelton.
um
Lee
Dean
Pelton.
Pelton. I know personally he saved people's tails from
Mhm.
getting expelled.
Yep.
I know that for a fact.
Mm.
So, and it's only because of representation that it meant something because we don't know how it went if there was a person representing another
Mhm.
genre. We
Mhm.
Facts,
don't know,
facts, 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 facts.
Yeah.
you know, and that's what I observed. So that was part of my village also. And before Sarah, you had Professor Manning's
Mhm.
wife.
Mhm.
Mm.
She's talking about the sweetest person on earth. You know, she just treated you like you were her child, not in a
Wow.
negative connotation, but in such a nurturing, positive. You need to do this, but here are the tools to help you do this. You
Mhm.
know, and again, I wish I listened to them more earlier than later,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but having that element helped. And what happens is that when you go to these institutions, and Colgate in particular, the investment in the community, the investment in that level of community helps you get through also because they are invested in us
Yeah.
to get through.
Well,
And
literally, I
that's
mean,
why, yeah,
let's break that down. I mean, there's no secret that the institution gets a significant amount of government money to fulfill the quotas of affirmative action and equal opportunity. Colgate, because the prices were so high that EOP and HEOP dollars that came in your financial aid package went but so far. But then you go to the state institutions or the CUNY institutions of New York, those dollars pay for their entire college tuition. And so
right.
I'm not going to say that Colgate wasn't intentional about trying to create situations that um, put students of color in positions to succeed, but let's not forget the business of a university and the fact
Oh,
that
no, no.
they were absolutely benefiting from our presence.
Now I take that, and I agree with that, but I take this because I went to Syracuse after I left
Mm-hmm.
Colgate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen many a student, and this what broke my heart, and I didn't even know this could happen. How students did not come back because of money.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Now
It,
it was very rare for me to hear that story at Colgate.
no. If anything, you heard the opposite in the sense of when you ask people, why did you come to Colgate? Oh,
Cha-ching.
financial aid package.
Exactly. So I understand your point, Jerry, and yes, they benefited, but it was the investment where they made sure that if they paid, that you stayed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where in
And
Syracuse, it's not always, it wasn't, because I know that for a fact that it's tough
yeah.
And not
getting
just
that
Syracuse. I know
change.
people that went to that at Utica, people that went to that at
Right,
Hamilton College, people that
Yeah.
went through
right,
that at
Morehouse.
Ithaca. I'm just talking about the New York-based schools, that people who came out of
right,
New York
right.
City with that money thinking it was going to help them, they stayed in New York so they could stay with that money, but there was still other factors at other, those institutions that ended up them having to transfer and be back in the city.
Yep. But
Mm-hmm.
the real part of it is that we did have such a great community, you know. And it's like any family, you might not always agree with your family members. There might be disagreements, and people get, pissy with each other. But in the end, if something went down, we was there
Down for it.
together. We was
Hmm.
down for it. I remember one time it was a party, La Residencia Hispanica um, had a party there, and somebody came in the house literally out the snow. It was like, okay, it could have been like one of January parties because I just remember it was crazy outside, but it was hot. It was like steam on the windows. And somebody said somebody got arrested if they was in a fight or something downtown. I remember a group of us left the party in mid whatever and went downtown to see about the brother.
Uh-huh.
Now, what's funny about it, this wasn't a person that hung out with us.
Didn't
It
matter.
wasn't, it didn't matter.
Right.
They said the name of the person. He said, oh, that's a brother. And they came in like, yo, this is going down. We left the party to go and see about him to make sure he
Mm.
was all right. That's the sense of community that I felt when we was there,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
That's what's up.
Um, that's what's up. And it's funny because you of course people will never tell you that those 4 years or what amount of years you stay in undergrad is really some of the most formative years and fun years of your life.
Mhm. Oh man.
They don't
So
tell
that
you
that
that.
that's a perfect. Is it when you think back? Is there anything you miss about your Colgate experience that you can reflect upon and say, whether it be social, personal, academic, spiritual, whatever, anything that jumps out?
Uh, what jumps out to me, I just miss the closeness
Mm.
of being around you, Al, and Gina. It's funny because I remember how people met. When you're underclass, like when I was a freshman, I ain't, I was oblivious to everything. But when we get to be an upperclassman, you see how people meet on campus and stay together and married now with children and families and careers. It's it's heartwarming to see that, you know. But the one thing I do miss is the closeness. You know, I miss going to people's rooms literally and say, "Hey, what's up?" or just going to somebody's. If we went to somebody's dorm or going to HRC just to hang out,
Mm-hmm.
going to La Residencia Hispanica just to hang out. You know, that's the one thing that I do miss. Um, yeah, because with any institution, I always say, you go to any institution, there's going to be issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just pick the institution. I just that's just my perspective. People hate it. I know some people hated Colgate, and I get it, but I didn't understand it because from where I came from.
Mm-hmm. Point of
I came
reference.
and I came from and I could say this. It was had roaches. Sometimes had other vermin in my living space. And my mom kept the cleanest. When I say the cleanest house you ever want to do, she kept a clean house. But we still had that going on. But when I went to Colgate, I and people asked me when I went back, why did I stay? Like I would stay up there during J term. I try to stay during the summer. Why didn't you come back? Don't you, love us and all? I do, but I know where I'm going at.
Mm.
It was just a different environment where I literally did not. I could walk from the top of the hill from East Hall down to Burger King and not have to look behind me once, not thinking about it.
Mm.
It's again, this is all thinking in the perspective. Why did I like it so much? I know why I liked it because I didn't have to worry.
Safety.
Right. Safety.
Safety, and I that is what I felt at Colgate from the beginning, like I told
It's an
you.
interesting perspective because until you come from a place where safety is compromised, um, you don't realize how much of a
Important it
difference,
is.
how important and how much of a difference it is in your literal, like simple day-to-day functions in terms of just what you do, when you do it, how you do it. Because when you eliminate
Mhm.
the factor of danger in the context of coming out of the Bronx, because there were
Mm.
still challenges in Hamilton. I had some challenges with Hamilton's finest, but that's a different that's a different
That's a
story.
different day, right?
That's a
I like
different
to hear that
podcast.
one day.
It's a different podcast. But the
Different
point is that
podcasts and very different challenges.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I never
Mhm.
feared or was afraid amongst my peers. I
Mhm.
wasn't afraid on or off campus from thinking that, a local townie was gonna roll on me. I never wondered.
Right.
I was more concerned about driving to Utica or going to parties at other schools about what would happen between the A and the B and who might we encounter, whether it was state
Right.
troopers, whether it was local sheriffs, whether
Mm.
it was Shantytown, but it
Uh,
was never my peers when I was like,
Right.
Colgate that I was concerned about.
right. Right. Even when you go to Mobile, the only thing you got
Right.
to worry about is going down that hill. There's somebody going to be at the, the county cop will be at the bottom of that hill.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
you better go
Slow
slow.
down. Slow down.
Yeah, slow down. But yeah,
So,
it's Go ahead.
no, I was going to say we're going to slow down right here and take a quick pause and take a quick break. Allow for our commercial. Allow for us to show some love to our sponsor, and then we'll come back, finish this conversation with good brother Leslie Orlando. Don't call him Little Les or Junior
Perry.
Perry. So this episode is sponsored by Hope Murals. Hope Murals is a nonprofit that provides adolescent youth with an interactive experience of creative expression via an urban arts platform that stimulates both mental and physical development. Please visit their website at www.hopemurals.org to learn more and find ways you can support the work they do. Welcome back to the second part of this Aftergate conversation with Mr. Leslie, aka Orlando Perry. It's been amazing so far. Before we get back to the conversation, let me definitely give some love to our sponsor, Hope Murals. Appreciate all that you are doing on a consistent basis. Make sure you check out their website, hopemurals.org, to learn about what they do and support financially. Show some love to Hope Murals. If you want to be a sponsor, email us aftergatepodcast@gmail.com. Also want to show some love to our network, the Defy the Defy Life Network. Check us out for written content. They have apparel on there. We got some Aftergate t-shirts. Go show some love and cop a Aftergate t-shirt. You can also check out this show and other Defy Life shows on the defylifepod.com, or like Aftergate, we are on all the major platforms. So Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Pods. If you want to hear this show and other amazing dope podcast shows like this, think that is all of it in terms of this Defy Life movement. So let's jump back into this conversation with Brother Leslie, Brother Orlando. So we always like to jump in to kick off the second part of the conversation and get some of your insight on some current events, things that are popping right now. And this being first week of November, it's election week. We're just coming off election night. There was a major election in Virginia where the Democratic governor lost to a Republican governor. And there's definitely been a lot of conversation about that, not just in regards to the impact of the local politics in Virginia, but what might that say about the direction we're going politically in our country? You being the amazing brother that you are, jack of all trades, as you put it earlier, I'm curious to hear your insight on that particular result. What do you think about that, brother?
As you said, I live in an area. I live in Maryland, Southern Maryland, not far, 20 miles from Virginia, and we get all of the Virginia broadcasts. So one thing I could tell you, I hated the commercials.
Mm.
I hate every other second it was commercials, because the commercials were not true reflection of who these people are. Both ways, Democrat, Republican, didn't matter. How I feel about it is that shows how the electorate do not care.
Mm.
The electorate does not care if you don't make them care.
Mm.
You got to make them care. And the only difference in that 1 percentage point, which the former Governor McAuliffe won by, he did not make the electorate that he needed to come out and vote care enough.
Mm.
It's not that the Republican did anything special. He did the old lies and tricks that they usually do. And this is facts, because even the major Washington Post and other entities in the area backed McAuliffe, because he was the past governor. He did have past results that were positive for the state. And it was also shown that that Republican candidate was trying to push his way from publicly being supported by Trump, but in the back room, he was supported by Trump, and he garnered that support. He wanted that support in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all it shows, that the electorate wasn't made to care, so they didn't care.
Mm.
And that's how you have this result. When you make the electorate care about issues that are going to affect them, and I think that the Democratic nominee tried to do that. He was like, look, what's in Texas, what's going on with the Supreme Court? Then listen about abortion rights, and the Republican guy made it clear what his thoughts on that were.
Mm.
He made it clear how he feel about education. He made it clear people did not care enough to do what they needed to do.
So
that's the bottom line.
Do you
It's
think
not
is that?
No,
No, I was just going to
sorry.
ask. Maybe no,
Mhm.
keep going, because you might go. You might be answering my question. Go ahead, keep going.
And it's not an issue. Of course, TV and they're trying to make it. It's a Democrat Party faltering, or they slipping, or do they give a damn, or whatever. It's not about that at all. We knew where these two people stood. We knew where Terry McAuliffe stood, because he's no newbie. He was the governor in 2009. Then you had another governor that was Democratic, then another governor that was Democratic. And he was always in the national presence. He was a National Governors Association, charge of the Democratic National Governors Association. He has his pulse on the hand of what's going on. He wasn't no newbie. He just didn't speak hard enough or eloquently enough to
Mm.
make people care, give a darn about going out there and vote.
That was my question. What would have made a difference?
I think
Gotcha,
he had
gotcha.
to, yeah, he had to do something, pull something out of the hat to make them care. He had to go dirty. He did a what somebody phrased was a moderate democratic race. You know,
Mm.
He needed to come out
um,
throwing haymakers.
he had to, he had to, and we at first he did come out with haymakers. He needed to save those haymakers for last.
Right, right,
You
right.
know, he caught the guy with hot mics early in the campaign. You know, and I think the advice that he received towards the end was it maybe if somebody is looking at do you support these policies or you don't support these policies, you'll see that probably 60% of the people in that state supported his McCullough policies. And what the other guy did, he's hiding what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have all Republican hierarchy, lieutenant governor and the attorney general, and you have the delegates, the House turned because
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty much even in Virginia. Now the House of Delegates is fully Republican, but that's the fickleness of the electorate, and I stand by that because that's how you get a Trump.
Yep.
The
Yep.
fickleness of the electorate, where they did not look at the experience, they did not look at past events, they didn't even look at people that were
Mm.
actually accusing him of sexual assault.
Mm.
It's no different than what happened with anybody else with Cosby or Weinstein, or
Mm-hmm.
they were documented police driven reports related to these incidents, and people did
Mm.
not care. And we know they didn't care because when he said grab him by the whatever, people still voted for him. That's how you know the electorate did not care. When you had a person, whether you don't like Hillary, you do like her, I don't care. She was more qualified. Nobody cannot say that
Qualifications
that
don't matter.
person, it
Doesn't matter.
doesn't.
They don't
That's
care
how
about
it's fickle. That's why it was fickle.
Mm.
Mm.
And they're gonna blame her for her husband's sins. They didn't say she did anything wrong when she was Department of State. Well, one thing they did an investigation, spent over $40 million, had 16 investigations, nobody went to jail for
Mm-hmm.
it. But anyway, they didn't say that she did anything wrong when she was senator. They didn't say that she did anything wrong when she was in the elected office. They're going to point to what her husband did wrong.
Just enough
Again,
to influence public perception.
That's it.
exactly.
Mhm.
The
That's it.
fickleness of the electorate is crazy in this country.
Yeah.
So
But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't got
no,
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 no.
that's
so
cool. That's
That's
cool.
what we wanted, man. We really
That's why we
wanted to
asked the
get
question.
right. Wanted to get your insight on that particular issue, and you being close geographically, and just I knew you had a take that we would want to hear. So appreciate that. Appreciate that.
you're welcome, but it's just frustrating sometimes. But anyway,
With
we
that
move
said,
on.
it's actually a good segue because it allows us to kind of pivot into who you are now. Walk us through. Um, you get out of Colgate. What's the journey leaving Colgate professionally, personally? You already mentioned at Syracuse, but walk folks through that to where you're at today, which is why you're able to speak so eloquently about the last question.
Um, who I am now. I tell you who I am now. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a brother, son, and I just say I'm an attorney also. But that's
Something you
all
just
in the
picked up along the
background.
way. Uh-huh.
Something just
They
picked up,
they on sale at Walmart. These
Right.
attorney
Wait,
things.
Did you
Yeah,
go right? Did you
attorney
go
thing.
right to Syracuse after Colgate, or was there like a
So
gap or hiatus a little bit?
no, so I explain that. I say that all of those things because at this time, that's what I'm needed to be.
Mm.
I got kids. I got a kid in college, one finished. I got a kid that's junior in high school. I got a wife, of 27 years. She always gets me. How many years is it? I got a mom that's, that's in her, she's having issues. She's been diagnosed with dementia. So she's out of 7 stages, probably stage 3 or 4. So I'm dealing with those challenges. Thank God I have brothers and sisters to help. We all work together. But that's when I think about it, that's when somebody said, who am I? I'm a member of my church. I'm a member of fraternity. I have all these other things. I just happen to be an attorney. How did that happen? And I might get too. This why, okay, after college, and I got to tell you a funny story about this. So I had to do an extra half year. Okay. Why? Because I happened to be in the first group to go to Nigeria. Loved it. My kids tease me and my wife teased me because I could talk about Nigeria like it's yesterday. You know, I went.
Who was
and
the
that
professor? Who was the host professor? It was a white woman, right?
Yes, Lorenz. Oh no, is it Lorenz? Professor Lorenz? Ah, I had it on the tip of my tongue right before
Okay,
you
we'll
asked.
come back. We'll come back.
But I think it's Professor Lorenz. And I can't tell you how to spell. I could, but I did bad in her class. And there was a story about that because there was a couple of people that should have been on that trip that wasn't on the trip. And it was I can't get into why they was not on that trip.
I
I
can tell
cannot
you.
get it. You I know personally why a couple of people was not on that trip, but I was blessed to be on that trip. That's when in life I was the bystander. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Then they're like, no, you're not even a consideration. Then when stuff happens, like, oh yeah, he said he wanted to be a part of that, and I was a part of it. So, because other people instigated it, I did not instigate that. I was a part of that train that was pushing to have a study group, but I wasn't the lead car. Okay, that's
And
how.
that study group was your senior year?
It was then. It was part. Yeah,
Yeah,
89.
yeah,
88,
Yeah.
was it 88? It was
yeah.
no, it
Because
was
it was our
Fall
sophomore year.
fall of 88.
fall of 88. Because
Right.
yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
and the reason why they did they took all the credits, but I had to take a class for my major, and they wouldn't waive it. So I had to go another year, another half year. And
For one
thank
class.
God when one class, and I tell you why I didn't mind that, because I majored in sociology and anthropology. God bless Dr. Rhonda Levine, who's
Yeah.
my angel.
Mm-hmm.
She was my angel. I should have listened to her actually, but she was my angel in that she was like, I got your class. You actually teach the other class I'm having. No, wait. She said, I could teach the class that I'm taking. So I helped taught the senior seminar that we was in. She was my angel, and I was taken care of. Um, so I did that actually, but that gave me time to think about what I really wanted to do. Now, if I stayed with Dr. Levine's part, I would have been a professor in sociology, anthropology, sociology somewhere. She's like, you need to do that. Because I told her what I wanted to do. I said, look, and I'm gonna put Jamal out there. Jamal said he wanted to go to law school. And he said, Orlando, let's apply to law school. I said, great, that's a plan. We're going to law school. God bless him, but he ended up going to University of Michigan for education.
Right.
He reneged.
Excellent. Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to be a lawyer.
You go.
For me, I was at Colgate studying for the LSAT, being ingenious because I didn't get to pay for my class that I had to take because I was one of the people that worked the class in terms of opening the facility and all of that. But it was funny because they were like, how do you even get into law school? I had sucky grades. I'm not going to lie about that. I did. I'm not going to lie about that. But this is the thing about community. Syracuse University, the year before I went, there was only one Black person that was in that class in Syracuse before I went. So what happened the next year? They got national attention through the Black Law Students Association and others, demonstrating in the dean's office. How do you do this? How does this happen? We have out of all of these people, one black student. This is not the 50s and 60s. And I saw the pictures of the classes in the 50s and 60s where there was only one black person or one woman or two women. I've seen those pictures. How did this happen in the 80s and 90s? So this is class of 90s. So me, I'm applied to Syracuse. I applied to Syracuse. I applied to other places, but I got into Syracuse. Why go to Syracuse, to one of the coldest areas in the country, when I got when I got into other areas? Because it was because of a lady friend. That's God honest truth.
Mm.
If I go to and I was going out with somebody at Colgate at the time, I said, let me apply here and I could be close to them. God honest truth. Y'all could fill in the blanks.
I
But
kind
that's
of
the only reason why I went
I
to.
think I remember this name, but go ahead. This
Yeah,
is not the
so
time or place.
this is not time and place, but that's because other people ask me, they say, why you go back to that cold place? That's the God honest truth. They accepted
Okay.
me, and I was trying to be considerate. I'm
Mhm.
thinking future wise.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so did I like Syracuse? Love Syracuse. Maybe a little bit too much.
I mean, compared to Hamilton, you was in a big city. Come on.
you you've been to Syracuse, okay? Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Mhm.
Compared to Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Okay. Okay. Let me explain too. I had the same community because when you go to like a, and this is the thing I love. And the reason why I say I love Syracuse because I went to a big school. I got to experience the big school atmosphere
Uh-huh.
where they had D1 sports, all of that.
Uh-huh.
But it's still, you're in your community, you're in your family. So I went to law school where there was literally maybe 30 people in that class
Mm.
when we went from 1 to 30. And at that time, that was the most ever black people that ever got accepted to Syracuse
Wow.
Law School. So, and again, I was in my community. It was only 30, 40 of us. And I only hung out probably with 10 to 15 of them. Same thing, no change. I'm still in Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference is that when I walk down a block, I might walk down, I might see another black face that I don't know, or it'd be a bigger party,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you do have a healthy undergrad. But the experience, I wish I worked harder and smarter. I worked hard, but I didn't know at that time how to work smarter. So I didn't do as well as I could have, you know. But I did meet the love of my life up there, my wife.
Okay.
So I can't never complain about that. I met one of my best friends in the world, who's a judge now.
Okay.
I got opportunities because when I finished law school, well, let me tell you, when I was in law school, I got to travel because I was part of Black Lewis Students Association. So I got to go and travel to other cities because they had conventions and all types of stuff. So the opportunities were out there. And after that, I ended up going to the Bronx DA's office, um, which was my dream job at the time.
Okay.
Because at the time, the Bronx DA's office was the DA at the time was Robert Johnson, who who hired me because he knew I went to James Monroe High School.
Mm.
You know, when he interviewed me, he asked me, "I see you went to James Monroe. Do you know anybody that's still there?" I said, I said yes." And I remember that interview so much. I was blessed to be there. Now, I tell the reality part because people think when you go to law school, it's all paved with golden. No, I
It's
didn't live
not.
that life.
It's not.
No, it's not. I wish. I know a lot of people, my friends and others that, even my relatives, I have relatives that went to Harvard and to University of Virginia where they did the right things and they made opportunities for themselves where their employment situation was paid. They didn't have to worry about that. Not that they didn't work. They worked for it and they earned it. But um my I love my life. And this is what you talk about retrospect. You could love the life that you have, but do you think that anything in your life could have been different because of your actions? And I always have to say yes. Now, does that mean that I would have my same wife, my same kids, be in the same community? from a religious perspective, my pastor always tells me, because I told him the story how I ended up in Maryland, because I'm a New Yorker. I'm from the Bronx, BX. Even when I got married, I stayed in Staten Island in a house, had a house out there, bought a house after, invested money to buy real estate out there. From the money that I earned from my wedding, we saved it, and we had enough money to buy a house. This is when houses were cheap, not how they are now. Okay, so don't get it twisted. And how life has it and put you in certain places, I can't say that I'm not happy about that. But can I say that if I'd have did certain things differently, I could have been in a different place? Yes. But in the place that I went was, I took the job at the Bronx DA's office, and I say to myself, I screwed it up somehow. Well, I know I screwed up because I didn't pass the bar. Okay. When you don't pass the bar, you can't stay there. You could, do stuff, whatever, but you got to keep it moving. So I kept it moving. I did other things. I end up going to where I invested in more property. Okay. And how I ended up was in Maryland was very interesting, because my family, a lot of my family lives in the DC area. I have two sisters that live down here, aunts, cousins. And my wife and I happen to be visiting my sister in Prince George's County. And that is east of the District of Columbia, off of I-95. If you go into DC, you take it I-95 or 495, you coming right by my house on exit 15. Okay. So that's where I'm at. So we visited my sister, and she lives in a nice house. Sister, my brother-in-law, both computer scientists, both went to black schools. Well, my brother-in-law went to NCAT, A&T, North Carolina A&T, and my sister went to Virginia State University, working for a firm and everything, living a lifestyle. But what shocked us is that we went to a community where everybody was the same. These houses, beautiful houses, everybody was Black in their neighborhood. I didn't experience that in New York. I even when I went to Staten Island, I lived in North Shore, where we had a house and other people didn't have these fabulous houses. We lived in a nice neighborhood, but it wasn't like the one that my sister lived in. And that was a middle class neighborhood, strictly middle class. Everybody worked for the government or worked as professionals. My wife loved it. So we end up down here. I'm close to my sisters. I'm close to my mom, because my mom moved from New York to Maryland and lived with my sister. So I'm loving it. I end up being hooked up and go to the government and work, which was a godsend. And I could say that I loved my time with the government. I worked for the Department of Justice, and worked on cases. We call it, I could say the name of it, at the time was asset forfeiture, money laundering. Basically, we investigated people that were committing crimes, and most of them were money crimes. And this is the end runs, this is those types of things. And I had a beautiful time when I was there. Got to do a lot of exciting stuff, traveling. You see how crazy people live. You see very interesting stuff. I love to travel part, because I used to go to, I could say this. I used to go to Cypress Creek in Florida a lot. And there's a hotbed for certain things down there. And I used to hang out at the DEA headquarters. Not the headquarters, one of the offices down there. Do a lot of work. I did a lot of work down there because of the activity.
Did a lot of work.
a lot of work. I didn't hate it when they
God.
told me to go down from December and stay till February. I didn't hate that
She was
either.
like, okay, gotta go.
I can do that. I can do that.
Deuces. I'll
Right.
see y'all later. But it takes a toll because I have a young family coming up
Yeah.
and I'm trying to
Mhm,
do certain things.
mhm,
But I was engrossed in this job. I loved it. Um, then life takes you in a different way. You
Hmm.
know, life
Hmm.
takes you
Hmm.
like, well, you might, and this is God telling me, I've grown into a relationship where my spiritual level has grown immensely since I've left Colgate.
mm,
You know,
Amen.
um, and the direction that God takes you in is just amazing because
mm,
um, I was complacent at that job.
Mm.
you know. And I thought it would last forever, as long as I'm doing my work, as long as I have. But things change. I realized things do change, and
mhm,
if they change, I have to change with them, and I didn't do that quick
mm,
enough for them. So I had to leave. So I left, and I left after I did the things I needed to do to prepare myself. And this is how God works. God got me prepared to do certain things, so I can do things to benefit the people around me in my
Mm.
circle. So after leaving the Af Mills, I started my own firm. Um, and that was over 10 years ago. Thank goodness I'm still here. Um, and in doing that though, God pushed me to do what I was meant to do. And I started a firm where I was by myself. And why did I do that? I don't know. I should have had a partner or whatever. But it taught me how to rely on myself
Hmm.
and how to engage others to help me better myself.
mhm,
That's um, and I've been practicing ever since. Has been low times, has it been high times? Yes. It's been crazy out here, especially the last 2 years.
Hmm.
Um, Having a solo firm is nuts because they are different things can happen. And I had health issues in between them.
mm,
And when you have health issues and you're on your own, that challenge your ability to be productive.
mhm, mhm. You the sole
You
earner,
know,
sole
Hmm.
producer.
you're a sole producer. You
Mhm,
know, thank God have a great wife who's
mhm,
soulmate. They're there with us,
mhm,
and they're developed their career.
mhm,
Um, and it can all go away in a snap with
mhm,
COVID.
mhm,
I
Hmm.
tell you, Craig. Look, the area of law I did was landlord tenant law, and doing landlord tenant law in D.C. is not for the faint of heart. If you're a landlord attorney, because the laws are skewed so much in the tenant's favor, it it minimizes the ability for a small landlord to make any money.
mhm,
That's why there's a a turnover in DC and nobody's talking about it. How the population has gone from 70% African American to where it's almost 50-50 now. And it might be more.
mm,
I think in last census, check the facts on this and doing it post-production on how the population has changed dramatically in the last 20 years. And has a lot to do, yes, where people are moving from the suburbs back into the city, but also has to do how the different administrations are not giving the opportunity for people that own property there to keep it.
mm,
And
mm.
I could go on for days about that, but um, that was part of my challenge. And now, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to be an advocate for those small multifamily homeowners in Washington D.C. because that's where I'm barred at.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, I'm
Congratulations.
barred. Thank you. And and you have different people that are in the game with you. But I saw that during COVID, all of those people that was in the game with you, they're leaving the game.
Yeah.
Mm,
I have plenty of people that are like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. So we call it pivoting, right?
Hmm.
Right.
We're
Pivoting.
pivoting, and that's
COVID
cool.
causes a pivot.
But I think again, I think God shows you that you're not meant to be comfortable. You're meant to
Right.
live, to
Right.
do your thing,
And adapt.
and
Mm,
adapt.
mm.
So that's what I've been doing the last 2 years. I've been adapting,
Evolving and adapting.
evolving.
Evolving and
Exactly,
adapting.
evolving. Those are the new terms I'm learning.
There you
Can I
go.
get it? Can I get an amen from Deacon Perry?
Hello, hello. So
Evolving and adapting, and you have to. And this is all of the lessons that I've learned as I've grown
Mhm.
up, and that I'm not I'm not promised anything.
amen.
I'm not
So
promised good health. Go ahead, go ahead.
mm, tell it. So here is my segue in terms of lessons and what you've learned.
Mm,
So if you had the opportunity to offer some lessons learned to 17, 18-year-old Orlando coming into Colgate, what would that be? And a part B to that question is, if you had an opportunity to give some words of wisdom to Orlando graduating Colgate, what would those lessons be?
It would be similar. It would be the 17-year-old, 18-year-old Orlando. I'll say, study your ass off. Be efficient. You can have fun, but you have to work to get
mm,
accessibility to opportunities.
mm,
Luck
Mm,
is made, not luck. Luck is made through your opportunities through hard work.
mm,
I hear that from actors all the time. I hear that
mm,
from plenty actors, people been in the business 15, 20 years. You could ask to Roger P. Henson's, you could ask all of them. They got into one movie and they blew up. But they said, no, I've been doing this the whole time.
mhm.
right.
I've been grinding.
I've been grinding. You have to grind to make your opportunities.
Mm,
Mhm,
And that's what I tell my 17-year-old. Enjoy yourself, but grind. Be around
mm,
others who grind
mm,
also.
mm,
mm,
You know, the person, what advice would I give to my graduate self? Um, Stop worrying about what everybody think about you.
mm,
mm,
Stop worrying about what everybody think about you. Do you
mm,
do? And I say this in that I'm the type of person who worries, who used to worry about what everybody thinks about them, and that are they going to think I'm a bad person? Are they going to think I'm such and such? Are they going to think I'm stupid? Because my personality had it where I tried to be the smartest in the room, but when I got to Colgate, I realized I wasn't. But I also learned that I deserve to be there.
mm,
I learned
yeah.
that if I worked and if I studied, that I could be successful. You know, um, so the advice that I would give myself: do you? Don't be scared. I was so fearful, and that's the other thing. Take chances in life.
mm,
Take
Mm,
chances. That's what I would tell the graduate part of take chances in life. Everything is not going to work out. Stop being so calculated. And I think I get that from my upbringing, where I had to do certain things to make sure I was in a safe place, whether economically or whatever.
mm,
So I think I should have taken better chances and more chances on different things I did in life. I took safe I took safe chances. Buying real estate is
right. Right.
safe. Buying real estate in New York and DC, that's safe. If you, especially when you buy low, and when I had the opportunity, I bought low, and when I moved here, I sold high in New York, and that was a blessing. And I came down here, and before the crazy housing market, before the market got crazy in DC, I was able to buy low
mm,
in DC.
mhm, mhm,
And and I pray that but take chances in life, and don't expect everything to work out. Just work to make sure you pick yourself up and you keep grinding to whatever you want to get to, whatever goals you set for yourself and your family. Don't be scared. I lived
Okay.
a lot of my life being scared. I'm not
Mhm.
not. I wish I could say
Not no
that I
more.
didn't.
Mhm.
In the moment, being in the moment. Um, Stop being scared. You
Well,
know.
So
go ahead. Al.
no, go.
No, I was gonna say I love the advice because it's still applicable to today because a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 20, 21-year-old, your perspective on what risks are and what life has in store is very different than, we're in our 50s now, and yet we can still get complacent because
Right.
life allows us to do that and circumstances and resources. And then it's important to keep that edge and say, well, am I going to apply that same advice that I would apply to my 21-year-old self to my 51-year-old self and still be able to be like, you know what,
Mm,
knowing that your decisions now have greater ramifications because you have others that are reliant on you in your decisions. With that said, though, um, one of our, I guess, mantras or purposes of this platform is to be able to share not only the great accomplishments of alumni of color of Colgate, but to leverage the network that we haven't always leveraged in our understanding of what it means to be an alum. We see the vast resources that alumni share across the more traditional platforms, and we as alumni of color are late to that. We ain't get that memo, but we want this platform to be that. And with the technology and the digital platform, we want people to understand that you have a service, you have a talent, you have a gift that you are successful at. How can folks who are interested in seeking out, retaining you, what you got going on, people want to reach you? Is there a site? Is there contact information that people can get to you? Because there are going to be folks that are going to be like, oh, wow, I didn't know he doing that. We got to holler. There's a chance for that plug.
Yeah,
For that plug.
yeah. Okay. Yes. My my email address. I'm always checking that. Orlando at lperrylaw.com. So Orlando, Orlando at LPERRYLAW.com. If you email me there, or if you call me on 202-600-7670. That's 202-600-7670. That's my number. The when people practice law, people have I think people have a I shouldn't say a misunderstanding. It's like any other entity or area of enterprise that people go into. You know, you find your opportunity by working
Mm,
mm,
in it, whatever area you want to do,
mhm,
whatever area
mhm,
you want to do. And if you got a network, that's how I was able to find certain things. And especially in an area that people do, they talk, they socialize. So you got to build the group that you're comfortable with. You have to
mm,
find your mentor.
mm,
Whatever you're doing, find a person that you could speak to honestly and that you allow them to analyze you,
mm,
allow them to criticize you. I had person, it's funny because when you're in court, you talk and you're talking to the judge, and you don't know who's listening or who's watching. But there was one time I battled with this judge about an issue, and and when you're in that moment, you're just at it. You're not caring who's behind you, who's listening. You just in the moment, you just getting at it. So after that happened, I went outside in the gallery. I'm trying to get my thoughts together, and this one guy, he was like, "You gave that judge hell."
mm,
And I was like, "Really? I did?" He's like, "You stuck to your point." And that's when I realized that people are listening.
Mm-hmm. You never
People are
know.
watching. And I also realized judges do remember because everything has its own community. So that same judge later on, we're actually in a social thing because there was a social thing at the courthouse, and he comes up to me. He says, "You had a very good argument." And I said, "About what?" Like I wasn't in front of him just once, but he reminded me of that situation. He said, "You had a very good argument, and that's the only reason I let you go on like that because you was telling the truth about it." Um, at that moment in time, I was like, "Wow, people do remember, do listen to you, and I still got to keep grinding."
Mm.
I said, to be
Impressionable.
successful. I didn't know that I was that impressionable, and that's just one situation, one issue. Um, but if I and I, this is where I get to tell the truth. And that if I'd have studied harder, if I did certain things in a different vein, other opportunities would have come my way.
Mm.
Am I complaining about what I have now? I definitely don't complain because I love where I live. I
Mm.
love the family around me. I love and I wish I could be around Jerry and Alvin all the time,
Oh,
you
come
know.
on down.
But I don't. Hey, what's funny about that? I wish I'd known y'all lived there earlier because
I
we
wish
used
I
to go
knew
to.
when you was in Cypress Creek.
Oh,
Oh, hold up.
oh, we
Oh,
the problem because I used to take the tri-rail, dog. I used to take the tri-rail to Miami, go
I
to
know.
American Airlines Arena,
Wow.
I lived
go
it. There
to the
was a
ball
time where
game.
I lived. I could walk to the arena.
Oh my goodness. It's a
Mhm.
funny story how I drove once. I rented a car and I this time I was in Los Olas?
Los
Los
Olas.
Olas.
That's in
Los
Broward,
Olas.
Hollywood, Florida.
Yes, I stayed in Hollywood. The hotel, they didn't put me where I usually stay, but I was in there and um and I had to drive to get to the ball game.
Hmm.
And man, at going to the game, perfect, excellent direction. Bam, bam, bam. When I left, I made the wrong turn, and I think I was in Overton or something. I
That's
was not.
over town. Yep. Wrong part of town.
I was like, yo,
Oops.
that
This don't look familiar.
well, you're right, right. I'm not on the 1A1 or A1A because
Yeah.
I think I had to take that back on 95. I wasn't on that. How did I get turned around? And this is prior to the time. Well, did they have navigation systems? I'm trying to think, but
Probably
Okay.
not.
just say
All right. If so, you
I
didn't
got
use it.
turned. If I did, I did not use it, but I was going down the wrong street. And dog, if I could tell you how quickly I sped through those lights, man,
Oh
I was
man.
like, oh my goodness, it was entertaining.
Well,
But
you're
that's
always welcome to come back down to the MIA, whether you come dolo with the
ah,
family or your peoples you already know, and obviously ATL is always is on the way, so you might as well just make a pit stop.
I will make a
Oh
pit stop at 85. I'll come through 85.
It is.
man.
I will make a vet. I would come down that way. We
Come on
actually I
through.
tried to hook up. Remember, I tried to hook up with y'all one time. Was it the year before last?
Mm.
Um, I think it was the year before last. But I had a rack. When I travel, I used to have a rack of people. It's not just me. I have a
Entourage.
I have
Well,
I have an entourage. Like I
well,
got
well, come to the A and bring your entourage. We'll have a
Right.
little eat off the grill barbecue
I would
and
love it.
and
Love
and let's
it.
get it in.
I make sure Crittenden's there.
Oh yeah, because Crit is in
Man.
We do
Georgia as
we
well.
do we do for a reunion. We do for a little quasi, brothers reunion. By the way, have you been back to Colgate since at all? Have you gone to any reunions or
Yes, I have. I went back to two. Now, one of them I've been back to. I was so disappointed because I thought other people were gonna be there. That's when I rehooked up with out of all people, I rehooked up with my roommate that
mm,
had literally haven't seen in 25 years.
Mm,
mhm,
But we just talked like it was yesterday.
mhm.
mm-hmm.
I haven't not seen that person in 25 years, but we talk like it was yesterday. And we talk about our families, talk about
Mm.
the times there. still the same guy. He's so funny. He has a wry sense of humor. Um, but he just talks in a crazy way it's like, dang, white people talk crazy sometimes, That's how I'm like, he gets to talk this way. But I had a great time with him. I
Well,
remember Kathleen Dill was there.
yeah. Was she
I
your
got to hang
class?
out.
She was.
Yes.
She was your class. Okay.
Yes, she was got to hang out with her.
Put
Well,
that in your head. We're trying to plan a little something.
Look,
Talk about it.
yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, Mike, you pulled it out. But we was gonna say what he was saying is, in June,
Yeah.
we definitely, I think it's like a big AOC, some type of reunion where we are doing our best to encourage as many of us to come back in June, this reunion. And we definitely trying to make it the most colorful, the most black, the most brown, the most AOC ever that weekend.
Got it.
So
Because
stay
I would love
tuned,
if
and we want
well,
as many as
well,
folk to be up there.
because they have a parade that's doing it. Now, I tell you that they have a parade for all the different classes, but we could have an AOC
Oh yeah.
component, where we could all be together. Then they have a
They
dinner.
ain't ready for that, but that's okay.
No, it's cool. They don't care because I
I
was
feel like we
walking.
did that during the 35th or 25th. Like there was we walked together then. Like I really feel like that year when they gave us the bag and like we came home with
And there was
trinkets
a big photo at the
Oh
cultural
yeah,
center.
that year.
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah.
hot. I was so mad because I didn't realize everybody was going to be up there because that was a year or two after I went.
Yeah, and you were
Okay,
scoring.
go back.
You were scoring. You were like, ain't nobody crying, going back there
I
again.
ain't going back. That was 16. That was 16.
I was like, oh right, yes, and because that was a year before my daughter graduated, and I was so ready to go back, and I said, no man ain't gonna be up there. He said, then I saw pictures. Oh, I was so hot.
So now
with
you
it.
know that
Now I know.
we are mentioning it to as many folk as possible, trying to spread the word. You spread the word, and we definitely we got our little chat as well, our little text chat that we'll be trying to encourage all of us that are on that brothers chat to get up there. But I'd like to wrap up this episode of Aftergate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo, thank you.
Brother,
Thank
I
you.
am. Thank you. Thank you, our listeners. Greatly appreciate the support that we are getting, and just want to say, make sure you check out future episodes of Aftergate as we have more amazing conversations. And this has been fantastic. Appreciate you.
Sure.
Peace,
Bless.
family.
Shh. You hear that? Listen closer. That, my friend, is the deafening sound of focus. It drowns out all the useless noise that can clutter the moment. Naysayers don't exist. Haters? Smaters? The peanut gallery? Who's that? When you in your zone, all that noise and all that buzz is just elevator music. So, enjoy your journey, focus on your goal, and bask in the quiet roar that is progress. Because when it's your time to shoot that shot, spit that verse, or close that deal, the only voice that matters is yours. Defy life.